Okay, so let me share my screen with you guys and we'll get started with tonight's topic on sharing resistance, dealing with resistance, sorry. So tell me if you guys can see the screen yet.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so I think the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I've been dealing with resistance myself lately. And so I kind of wanted to figure out how to deal with it and work through it. And so these are some of the things I've been learning. And I read several years ago, I read a book called The War of Art. And it's a really awesome book where Stephen Pressfield, the author, talks about kind of breaking through the blocks and winning your inner creative battles. And I think this is something that a lot of people, especially those who work from home, have to deal with because we have to be self-motivated. And so let's talk about what his definition of resistance is. And that's basically that anytime you're trying to reach a higher level, you are going to feel a negative force, opposition, and sometimes those are going to show up as self-doubt, lack of motivation, fear, and impatience, right? Raise your hand if you have not felt any of those things. And I can't see any of your faces, by the way. So if you have a question, you'll have to holla. But so we're going to talk about kind of how to work through all of these things, all of those negative forces that sort of get in the way of our goals. And really, my goal, the goal here in dealing with resistance is that resistance should only be a road bump and not a roadblock, because we don't want resistance, whether it's in the form of self-doubt, lack of motivation, fear, or impatience, to completely stop us, right? And sometimes I think there are times when things suck and we want to quit, right? I think I've felt that in many careers, including motherhood. I'm like, all right, I quit. And so we're going to discuss how to work through it so that we don't have to quit, so that we can all be here in a year. And that's something I encourage all my coaches, be here in a year, because we want to see the result, the fruits of our labor. And I've been thinking of it almost like, of my coaching experience, almost like a 2-year mission. And I kind of think of it like, in fact, I have moved a lot. We've moved to Nevada, Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. And I used to be a photographer. And so every time we moved, it was so annoying because I'd have to start my business all over again. And, but I noticed that it took almost 2 years to really see the fruits of my labors. And so that's kind of something I wanted to challenge you guys to do, is to give it a solid 2 years, because I've noticed every time I started a new business, it took about 2 years to really build it up until there was so much momentum that I didn't even hardly have to seek out clients. The word of mouth built up, and that momentum just kind of started going. So hang on one second. Hang on, I've got my son is. Okay. So let's talk about the first one, fear, right? Dealing with fear. I think everyone deals with fear. However, I think the amateur, in the book, he mentions that the amateur thinks they have to need to get rid of all the fear before they do the work. And that's not necessary. Like, you don't have to get rid of the fear to do the work, because there are no fearless warriors. Like, I feel like people who do really brave things, they're scared to death, but they do it anyways. And so it's really more about just feeling the fear and doing it anyways. I mean, there have been several times when I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm about to post this before and after picture of myself, or, you know, put my abs on here, or whatever it is. And so, you know, because it is scary to put yourself out there. It is scary to follow up or to invite people that you don't know, or even people that you do know. Sometimes that's scarier. But really, the warriors are the ones who get out there and do it anyway, even if it's scary. And so one thing that I think we as coaches need to do is to in order to deal with fear, you know, that form of resistance, is to get comfortable doing the uncomfortable. And I have noticed the more that I practice sharing about, you know, the business opportunity of BeachBody or whatever, the more that you do things, the less scary they become. And so it's really about practice and just getting uncomfortable. So, and I feel like if you're not getting uncomfortable, you're really not progressing. So that's kind of how you can track your progress, is if you haven't done anything uncomfortable lately, then it's time to step up and do something a little bit uncomfortable. The next thing I want to talk about was dealing with self-doubt. And one thing to remember is that if you believe the critics when they tell you that you're great, then you need to believe them when they tell you that you stink. So basically, I think it's important that we just don't really believe anyone, whether they're telling us we're awesome or that we suck. It really comes down to what you think of yourself. And I've told this to my kids, you know, where they're like, hey, he said that I was stupid or whatever. And I'm like, well, do you think you're stupid? Because that's really what matters, right? I mean, if I were to tell you guys that you were like the worst coach ever, or that there's really no way you're ever going to be successful in this business, would that stop you? I really hope not. Like, I hope that my opinion wouldn't be the end of you. And so how do we deal with that self-doubt? Well, one thing I think is just to be your own best critic and say, did I do my best effort, you know? And that's something like with photography that I would do. I used to always compare myself to other people. And finally I got to the point where I was like, well, am I doing the work that I want to do? You know, I stopped looking sideways. I stopped doing that comparing, and I started just comparing myself to myself, right? I started racing against my own self and saying like, well, was this photo shoot the best that I could possibly do? Or even with your coaching, like, did I run that challenge group as best as possible? And if not, then it's time to step it up. So really just being your own best critic. And then second, and I think this, because I think we all have negative thoughts, but basically it's what do we do with those negative thoughts? And thoughts, your negative thoughts should be kind of like a bird. Like, you let it fly through your mind, but you don't let it build a nest. So that negativity, you can't let it stay. You can't entertain it. So when those thoughts are like, oh, you know what, maybe you shouldn't be a coach. Like, you're never going to do that. You're not that awesome. Like, what are you even thinking? Just be like, nope, I'm not going to go there. I mean, do whatever it takes to distract yourself. Like, sometimes if I'm having a bad day, that's when I listen to personal development, right? That's a great time when you're starting to have those negative thoughts. That's when you can put positive thoughts in your brain and positive words in your brain by listening to personal development. So just replacing those, I call them weeds, you know, replacing those weeds in your head with positive things, or distracting yourself. There's been times when I'm like, oh, I'm just having a really bad day. And I'm like, you know what, let's just watch a funny movie or a funny show, you know, and distract yourself. Just like we do with our kids sometimes. We distract them when they're maybe being naughty or asking for things that we don't want to give them. Or, with toddlers, that's one of the best methods is distraction. And I think it works well for adults too. All right, dealing with lack of motivation. And I think one of the ways that I recently had an interview with one of the guys from corporate, because there's a corporate office like 30 minutes away from here. And so they wanted to interview as many Utah coaches as they could. So I signed up for a time slot, and I went in and talked with the guy and kind of talked about my goals and stuff. And I said that I wanted to be a 15-star diamond. And he was like, okay, well, and I thought this was such great advice, and I don't know why I didn't think of it before, but he just said, all right, well, then you need to start acting like a 15-star diamond. Like, don't act like a diamond, act like a 15-star diamond. Like, whatever your goal is, if you're a coach and you want to be emerald, then start acting like an emerald. If you're an emerald and you want to be a diamond, then start acting like a diamond. What do diamonds do? Or what do 2-star or 5-star or whatever? Or if you want to be a top 10 coach, then what do top 10 coaches do? Or if you want to make, if you want to be a pro and make all this money, then you've got to start acting like an entrepreneur that makes all that money, And so that was kind of eye-opening. And I was thinking to myself, am I acting like a 15-star diamond? Am I doing the things that 15-star diamonds do? And so that kind of made me evaluate how I was behaving. And then I could look towards, then I decided that I would follow all the 15-star diamonds, all the top coaches on Instagram, and just kind of see what they're doing, and not necessarily mimic them, but find patterns in what they're doing, and try to follow some of those patterns so that I too can make 15-star a reality. And I've always believed that, it really comes back to fake it till you make it. Like, that's a motto I've had since I was a teenager, because I totally believe that sometimes, you have to just fake your way through things, and often I'm BSing, and that's how you get there. There's a lot of like technical stuff I don't know about BeachBody, and I'm like still learning about all the, strategic placement of people and all, volume and all that. But I BS'd my way for the first 8 months. You know what I mean? It's like, and I feel like that's what most people are doing anyways. We're all BSing our way towards our goals, right? So really just starting to go pro and starting to act like a professional coach, like a professional Beachbody coach, not a hobbyist, not just like a casual, coach, like really being professional. And what's the difference? Like, if you think about what does a professional coach do versus like an amateur coach. And one of the things that Stephen Pressfield mentions is that like a pro plays hurt, right? He also has a book called Go Pro, by the way. And so, he mentions that a pro plays hurt. Like, let's say a professional athlete, like they will continue playing the game even if they have like a sprain, an injury or whatever. If they can continue to play, they will. But the amateurs like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to do it today. Like we find excuses to justify skipping those professional behaviors. And so, but pros don't let those negative things stop them. And so it's really about, showing up and doing the work. Showing up even if we don't want to. And so that kind of leads me to the next part, which is habits. Sorry, did someone have something to say? Okay.
Can you click back for just a second?
Sure.
Thank you.
Are you just taking notes, or?
I am. I'm totally absorbing everything you say.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, and you know what? I really think that showing up is huge. Like, like, let me give you an example. Okay. So Summit, let me tell you how frustrating this is. This is one of my resistance things. Like, so I work my husband's business and my own. And when I first started Beachbody, I knew about the success starter thing, but I didn't think about it for my own business. I thought of it for my husband because he is above me. So I don't even think I knew about it. Anyway, so I earned my success starter for my husband. And so I earned a ticket to Summit. However, I was working his business and not my own when I first started. Not as much. I wasn't working myself as much. So I didn't get myself a ticket to Summit. So, anyway, so that was really frustrating to me and I called corporate and I've been trying to like convince them like, hey, I'm the same person. I earned it. But they're like, I'm sorry, we cannot give it to you. It's under Matt's name. It's not yours. You can't, so now in order to go, I have to pay the stinking ticket, which really annoys me. Right. But I'm like, but you know what? I'm going to go because I know that this is going to be an amazing, event that's just going to get me all fired up. And not only that, it's going to be killer marketing when, we're posting all these selfies of all the fun things we're doing and people are like wanting to do it with you, So I'm like, dang it, I'm going to go. And even though that plane ticket is a ridiculous amount and, our budget is super tight, I'm going to go and nothing's going to stop me. So that's what I mean by showing up, like showing up to do the work, showing up to the events and not letting things get in your way. Like I was saying with the ticket thing. So that plays right into habits, right? And I think why it's so important that we create habits for success is because our habits make it so that our actions are not based on our mood or our emotions, right? We will have routines in place that we will know we got to do these things like no matter what, because those are the things that are going to lead to success. And because there's going to be days where you're like, I'm not in the mood to work, or I am just having a hard day, or I was up all night with my kid. I mean, there's so many easy excuses, right? And that's what amateurs do. Amateurs make excuses and they find like little ways out, right? But pros are consistent and they show up every day and they do the work that's required. And so I loved this quote when I stumbled upon this like a month ago from John C. Maxwell, where he said, you'll never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine. And I so believe that. And it's really about, that's why, we talk so much in Beachbody about doing those 3 vital behaviors, doing those, the power of 3s or the PIEs, like my team, that PIEs acronym, doing those daily things that, are a little bit monotonous or whatever. But when we do those, and they have that compound effect and they start to create momentum in your business, and you start to see successes and results. And it's kind of like with our challengers, we have challengers that like they bail after 2 weeks because they're not seeing results. But it's all about that daily thing you do, drinking your Shakeology and working out every day. That's when you're going to start seeing the results. So I feel like this quote goes right into it, because I want to be able to do some amazing things in my life. And I love Beachbody because it's made me dream so big, so much bigger than I ever thought I could. And so, but it's really also comes down to those small daily actions that we have to do. And I love this quote. It says, today I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can do what others can't. And so that's why I keep telling myself, like, I just got to do those daily baby steps that are going to give me big dreams, those things that I'm working towards. So I have this quote on my vision board to like in my pin board and Pinterest, just to remind me, like, do those daily things. And then impatience. I think that one's easy to do, right? That's another form of resistance. And I love how Amy Silverman said in one of her wake up calls, the coach wake up call, she said, don't give up before the miracle. And I so believe this. I believe that sometimes when you're about to have awesome successes, you're going to get a road bump, right? And you can't let it turn into a roadblock. Like, you just have to go over that road bump and keep going, because there's going to be some awesome things ahead. But we can't let that resistance stop us. So don't give up before the miracle. We see so many coaches in this business that are making amazing money and traveling and doing all these wonderful things, but they've had to put in their time. They've had to be patient with the process. And so that's something that we have to remind ourselves every day, is like, just be patient, be patient. It's not, this is definitely not get rich quick business. I say that it's a baby steps business. So it's like the turtle versus the hare, right? We will win eventually. We are the turtles here, but we just have to stick to it and be consistent. So just remembering those things. And then, how do you know if you're on the right path? That's something that I think it's easy to kind of question, right? Like, well, is this really what I should be doing? But I love this quote by Henry B. Eyring. He says, if you are on the right path, it will always be uphill. And that's something I've been thinking about, because I've had a really hard year. And I honestly feel like, there's in the book, You Are a Badass, she talks about like how when you're about to have success, before that, the shit's going to hit the fan. Like, things are going to get bad. And I feel like it's the universe's way of testing you to see if you're strong enough and if you can handle those successes that are just around the corner. So it's going to be an uphill battle, but we're going to enjoy the fruits of our labor eventually. And so also, I feel like when things scare you, that's kind of your cue. I felt that way in my life. With anytime something scares me, then I know it's what I need to do. And so if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. Or if something, if you're like, oh my gosh, I probably shouldn't post this, I'm sharing too much of my story or my journey. I don't know if any of you had an experience, and if you've had, I'd love you to share it, where you're kind of scared to post something or share something online because it's kind of a vulnerable or personal. And then you do, and all these people go nuts over it because they can relate to that, and because you're being real. And, so it's those things that scare us, whatever it is on your journey, that are sometimes the things that we need to do in order to have success. And I felt that in my life, where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really scary. Like, that means I need to do it. So for me, that's how I know that I'm on the right path.
Okay. I have it written in one place, and I want to make sure.
So this is just how I'm going
Okay, so you'll go do that loop-de-loo on the freeway to get on. Oh,
hang on.
Kelly, don't hate me, but can you back up again?
Yes. Hang on 1 second, if I can.
I wanted to see the Henry dude's name. I had Henry, but I didn't have
it's just Henry B. Eyring. Eyring. Well, I'm just going to end on this final quote here. Just 1 second. And then we can discuss or answer any questions, or you guys, I'd love to hear some of your stories on how you've done scary things and seen the benefits. But this is one of his Stephen Pressfield's quotes, is he says, on the field of the self, meaning like ourselves, stand a knight and a dragon. You are the knight. Resistance is the dragon. And the battle must be fought in you every day. And I truly believe that. I don't think that you're ever going to have like a day or a month or a year where you don't feel resistance. Because, you know, we're all growing and we're all working towards becoming better. And so opposition is going to be there. We're going to have negative forces. And so we have to fight it every day. And that's why I think personal development is so huge, because it gives us like, it kind of sharpens our sword, right? For the night, to deal with those dragons in our head, and just keep going and not let those road bumps become road blocks, right? So that's why personal development, and that's really what's been helping me through, you know, some of my challenges this year, is just been like, okay, I just need to listen to personal development. And it has made me feel like more capable, more mentally strong to deal with that kind of resistance. And I feel like a stronger person because of it, you know, and that's like, I'm so grateful for BeachBody because of I feel like mentally the person that I'm becoming, not just physically, but mentally. And so, and one of the ways I get in personal development is, and I have to give this credit to Lisa, is just through, I've been listening to personal development, like to audiobooks and stuff while I work out. I just mute the video because we all are supposed to be working out every day to our BeachBody DVDs. So that gives you 30 minutes every day to listen to personal development and work out at the same time. So it's like two birds with one stone, and it's awesome. We're strengthening our physical and mental self. And I feel like that's really how you fight the battle every day. So that's the gist of what I was wanted to share with you guys today, because I think we all struggle with resistance as coaches and it just as human beings, you know? And so I wanted to just share some ways that we can like fight and deal with it each day. So that's my presentation. Let me stop the slides. And does anyone have any like stories they want to share on like resistance that they've been dealing with and how they're kind of working through it and overcoming it?
I have to say, I get those Darren Hardy emails each morning.
Uh-huh.
One of them was talking about like being brave, or, you know, taking that chance. And he's like, you don't have to be brave all the time. He's like, nobody has courage all the time. He's like, you just have to have courage for 10 seconds. 10 seconds at a time, you know, 10 seconds to walk up to a group of people and introduce yourself, or pick up that phone and make the phone call, or post the picture.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you just have to have that moment for 10 seconds. He's like, and then you can go back to being, you know, self-doubt and everything. He's like, well, for those 10 seconds, you're brave.
Right. I watched that one too, and I loved it because if any of you have ever seen We Bought a Zoo, I think it's from, in the movie he does that. He talks about 20 seconds of courage, and I loved that part because I'm like, oh, that's all you need. You only need 20 seconds to like, you know, he talks about how that's how he got the courage to talk to his girlfriend and stuff. So I agree. And courage is a huge way to deal with resistance too, is just like, hey, I'm going to be brave for 10 or 20 seconds and do this thing. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Jill. Anyone else?
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Who is it?
It's Joelle.
Okay.
Jill, I watched the same video or whatever it was that you did, and I love that too, because that's actually what I did when I was in labor with my daughter, and it was like such an amazing experience. And I remember just saying, okay, like it's really painful and I'm kind of scared right now, but I'm only gonna push for 10 seconds, and then she like popped out. But
nice.
I really like that. I just wanted to share a quick story of when I was really scared to post this transformation photo of myself. It was a picture of me when I was like 18, and I've had a pretty wild life. And so at 18, I kind of hit rock bottom. And there was a picture of me like drinking straight out of a 26er of vodka, and then a picture of me like holding my daughter all happy. But I just kind of shared a little bit about my story and how I went through this big change. And like so many people could relate to it and were touched by it and messaged me. And like I just had such a great response from it, and it made me feel so good. And I realized like I need to be more brave like that and post things about being a coach and how that has really transformed my life. So I'm just glad that you did this presentation, because it's given me that little boost of courage that I needed.
Yeah, I still remember that post, Joel. It was awesome.
Well, I'm glad.
And just know that we're all scared. Like, I think we all look at, there's like all these people we look up to, coaches we look up to, and I think they're still scared too. You know what I mean? But they just do it anyway. Anyone else have something they want to share?
I will. I think you guys know that most of you know that I was struggling last month. And Gabrielle messaged me, and she said, Megan, why are you doing this? I mean, just a simple little question like that. And I took a step back and I said, well, because, I would imagine we all have those moments where we want to give up.
Mm-hmm.
I was certainly in one of those moments. And I'm like, and she says, okay, well, why are you doing this? And I said, well, because it makes me, because I have dreams and I have goals, and I know that if I quit, I will not reach them. But if I keep trying, I just may. And she was like, well, there you go, and so I really appreciated that conversation with her, and for her reaching out to me, and she shared some more tips and advice with me. And so, I guess what I'm trying to say is to keep your goal in mind, like you said, want to be a 15 star guy.
You can come in.
And so keep your goals in mind, and then don't be afraid to reach out to someone, because I really appreciated her reaching out to me. So you never know how much of a difference reaching out to somebody can make. So, and like you and I, Kelly, we had a one-on-one too. And, it just, sometimes it doesn't take a lot to just give somebody a boost. So.
Amen. That's why we have a team family, right? To keep us going.
Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned too your why. I mean, that Gabrielle asked you that simple question, because your why can also keep you kind of grounded. Like, wait, why am I doing this? Oh yeah, that's why. Like, cause it's easy to get caught up in, we've talked about this before, in points versus people and things like that. And it's like, just remembering our why is huge, right? That keeps us like, okay, that's why I'm doing this. Let's remember that core reason. So thanks for sharing that, Megan. Anyone else want to share?
I'm glad it helped, Megan.
Way to go, Gabrielle.
I think, I don't know if I can say it without crying, actually. So. I just don't think that you guys realize look, we all have our reasons why we even decided to be a challenger, let alone a coach, but I don't think you guys realize the impact you can make on somebody. I literally woke up and my life is 100% changed. I will never be able to be a nurse again the way I know it. I'm looking at either getting lucky and not being paralyzed or being paralyzed. I'm literally on the verge of that at any slight wrong move. And even though my weight isn't what caused it on itself, it certainly contributes. And having a strong core and being healthy and physically active and just strong. I just don't think, I think you guys need to put it in perspective on not your own goals, like you want vacations and financial freedom and all that stuff. That's a given. To me, that's just looking out for you and your family. But I just think you need to really put it into perspective on the impact you could make on just one person's life. Just one.
Right. So true. That's what makes it so fulfilling, is when we really like help someone, you know, when you get someone that's like, thank you so much for helping me or inspiring me. I mean, it's amazing how changes to your body make huge, it has a ripple effect to your life. So it's like, it really does help. It changes, we're changing lives. It's amazing. It really is amazing. Anyone else? Any other thoughts before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I was just going to add to what she said. And a lot of times when you go to ask people to be part of your group, there's always fear because, you know, they're going to say no, or that you're going to, you know, be off-putting or things like that. But every time I'm like, okay, I really want to ask this person, are they going to give me crickets? Are they not going to talk back to me? You know, a lot of that happens, you know, when you ask, like, then they don't talk to you for a month or whatever. But I remind myself, I've got this challenger right now, and I kind of reconnected and I asked her, and she jumped on, and she's been doing so amazing. She decided that she wanted to become a discount coach. And then now she has a friend who jumped on into a challenge group. She has no like interest in coaching, but it's so nice to see like this ripple effect, and how when you know, don't let your fears stop you, and you go for it and ask people, you know, that need the help, that you can help them, and then they can kind of pass it on. Just by them posting a sweaty selfie helps, you know, a friend go, oh, if she can do it, I can do it. And so there's this like major ripple effect that goes way beyond just you, but you have to, you know, not be afraid to ask. So
That's so true. I love that. Yeah. Because I've seen that just in my own family, like how, you know, because of what I'm doing, that's affecting my mom, who's affecting my stepdad, who's, you know, like you just see how it like has this huge ripple effect, and it's amazing.
yeah.
So it's really cool to be part of. But yeah, it takes courage.
Yeah, it does.
20 seconds.
All right.
Anyone else want to share? Thanks everyone for sharing so far. This has been awesome. You've all made my presentation way better.
I just have a quick thing to say.
Okay.
I'm really an anxious person. Like from the time I was super little, like I've always just been really anxious. And when I got a little bit older, it was just really hard. And so I remember going through a really hard time, and then feeling like I went to this therapist and was like, you have to work out. And so that's why I started working out. She was just like, you have to work out. There's not any options. Mm-hmm. And so I remember I would just wake up every morning and I would just cry all through my workout. And then I would just do it for a long time, and I just kept doing it and doing it. And now it's just changed who I am and what I do and everything. So that's part of why I started. But I was talking about it with somebody just like 2 weeks ago, and just saying, like, talking about being positive and things that I've been doing. And she called, like I had someone call me and was just saying like, oh, I really need help. How are you so positive? Why is everything in your life different? Because I know of a lot of the trials that you've gone through, and like nothing in my life is that bad. And so I don't understand why you can be positive and I can't be positive. And so I just was sitting there talking to her. And then like later that night I was reading through my journal, and I was just like thinking about that moment. I was like, it's so good to like, wow, I'm not that person anymore. Like, it's like a full circle moment. Like, I'm not who I thought I was. Like, how did I get here even? Like, I don't even know. So I think that's part of it. You just have to keep going, and eventually one day you'll just be like, I'm not that anymore. Like, it just happens. You just have to keep going.
So true. It goes back to that consistency, and it sounded like you had to get comfortable being uncomfortable, like, you know, crying through those workouts until eventually that didn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Heidi. And it's true. Like you look back and you're like, oh, I mean, I feel like I'm a totally different person than I was 8 months ago when I signed up, like just mentally, you know? So, anyone else? Alyssa, are you still on?
Yes, I'm here, but I feel like my brain is too scrambled with no sleep to say anything as awesome as you've all said.
That's all right. I just wanted to see if you wanted to add anything before we finish up.
I just love that, you know, when we have resistance that we don't take it onto ourselves. Like they're not saying no to like you or that you're not great and that you're not awesome, but that it's maybe not right for them at this time or whatever. So I love that we came back to like, you know, you can be that, like help one person, help change that one person. So I like to think in the month, like if people are telling me no, I'm getting lots of resistance, then I just say like, I haven't found my person yet this month, or the people that I can help and that I can influence. Like it's not right for them. So I love that this kind of wrapped up into that, because that's like helping me stay in that positive mindset, keeps me going for no, even when I just want to like not post again because I'm, you know, afraid or tired of getting crickets.
Oh, that's such a good point. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think, you know, like Tara Bialek or something, she posted like a week ago something, and she was like, you know, I was hesitant to post this, but I thought even if this just helps one person, then it'll be worth it. And I think that's really like sums it up what you were saying, that even if this just helps that one person, then that's worth it. And like you're saying, to keep trying till we find that one person that we need to help. And remember that it's not a no for, it's not a no, forever no, it's a no for now, you know, and you're going to have people come back around. And
yeah, the longer you coach and if you keep doing it, people will come back around. Mm-hmm. And it's like even more exciting when they do, because you're like, what? Yes, okay, let's do this.
Right, totally. Yes. Oh, well, this was an awesome meeting. Thanks, you guys. I so appreciate all of you sharing your stories. And really, I feel like it's the stories what make it so much more powerful. And that's why it's so important that we share our own stories, right? Because those are the things that we all connect to, is like those things that we've been through. So anyway, thanks again, you guys, for sharing your time and listening and sharing your stories with us. And let's all work to deal with resistance and just make them road bumps and not roadblocks. So hope you guys have a good night.
Go help people.
Bye.
That's right.
Bye. Thanks,
Bye.
Kelly.